Hello, everybody. How are you this morning? I'm doing well. Oh, aw, 16 months. Thanks, Roz. Enjoy pushing that button and enjoy the emotes. Thank you for being here. I appreciate everybody whenever they show up, and I appreciate you when you don't show up too, but, oh good, I can see my screen now. I was having a moment. And I also don't like this. Okay. I don't generally ever use the creative dashboard. I usually use fine, this is fine. I usually just pull up my own page to see the screen, and it was giving me some issues. Cat, what are you doing? I think the cat's trying to find things to eat on the floor. Well, that's his job, I guess. All right. It's a Sunday, it's Latin. Cat. We're going to do some verbs today. We're going to do a lot of verbs today, in fact. So, with verbs, we started last week because we looked at some irregular forms from the verb to be. And there are kind of two things that we need to remember from last week. One is what all the parts of the verb are. So you conjugate verbs into a person, number, tense, voice, and mood. The person is it I, you, we, they, he. So first, second, third. Plural, is it singular or plural? One person or more than one person. I versus we. Person number. Tense, when is it happening? What is its aspect? Is it in the present? Is it a recurring action? Is it in the past? Simple action. Tense. Voice, is it active or passive? Is the subject doing the action or is it being acted upon? And then mood, what type of sentence is it? So mostly we're dealing with indicatives right now, so that's simple statements, but there's also imperatives where you command someone, infinitives, which is the blank form of the verb, to love, to advise, to rule. We see here, those are all infinitive forms, the present infinitive, present active infinitive, in fact, and subjunctive, which we'll learn in more detail later when we start using them, because subjunctives are only ever used in subordinate clauses or wishes, conditions, so not the simple statements that we're starting with. I apologize for not having uploaded the past few to YouTube yet. Well, I think they're actually up on YouTube, they're just not live. So I'll do that today and get the backlog up onto Twitch so that people can view those, because I don't think I've lost any. I just haven't gotten them put up yet. So after this stream, I'll try to remember to do that and not be lazy, which is what I've normally been. I'm so lazy, you guys. It's so bad. Okay. The other thing we needed to remember about verbs was the personal endings. You come to Australia, laziness is a virtue here. Maybe I will. So for a lot of the tenses in the active, there's just a certain ending to let you know person and number. So O or M for first singular, st mustis ent. OM st mustis ent. So those things, please review and remind yourself and write down. Especially, again, if you're doing this to really be comfortable with Latin, take the time between the weeks. Today, we're going to go over the 4 regular conjugations. I don't know if it's going to be just the present active or if we'll also get the imperfect in the future. But here we go. With regular verbs, there's 4 families. So remember, with nouns, we've learned 2 families so far, the first declension, the second declension. With verbs, there's a total of 4 conjugations, and nouns, there's actually going to be a total of 5 declensions. We'll deal with most of those later. The conjugations are distinguished from each other by the final vowel of the present conjugation stem, the distinguishing vowel. So in the present infinitive, you have amare for the first, monere for the second, regere for the third, and audire for the fourth. If you remove the re, then you get the present stem, and you have that vowel ending the stem is going to be the distinguishing vowel. So the first conjugation is A verbs, second conjugation is long E verbs, third conjugation is short E verbs, and fourth conjugation is long I verbs. There is actually also a fourth IO, which we'll talk about later, I imagine, because he's not talking about it now. And then, of course, a handful of irregulars that are going to be very important. But most of the verbs go into one of these 4, and all you have to do is look at the present infinitive to tell which family it's in. The difficult one to remember, just looking at it like this, is the long E in the second declension versus the short E in the third, conjugation. So second is long E, third is short E. But that's how you tell the difference. How do you find the present infinitive? It's the second principal part. And we'll talk about what the principal parts are later. But every verb has a set of forms that you memorize when you learn the verb. And that tells you everything you need to know about conjugating that verb, like which family it belongs in. I was wondering at that. What if you don't have diacriticals? Do you need context? Yeah, pretty much. You just need to know. If the text that you're looking at does not have long and short marks, you just need to know. There is a second give when you memorize all the principal parts. So when you look up a verb in a dictionary, it will give you all the principal parts as its dictionary entry. So, for example, we'll use the second and the third conjugation. Monere, the 4 principal parts for monere are moneo, monere, monui, monitum. I can't type this morning. I delayed the stream so I could get breakfast and wake up, but I still can't type. The principal parts for regere are rego, regere, rexi, rectum. So when I type it in chat, there's no long or short marks. So how would you tell? The kind of second give is in the first principal part. Yeah, don't say it. Is the first principal part. Moneo has an EO, and rego has just an O. So that's the first principal part give. So as long as you have the first 2 principal parts, you can tell the difference between a second and a third, even without the long mark. But you do need to know the first principal part to do that. If you only hear the second principal part, if you don't have the long mark, and you don't know where the accent falls, because the accent also gives it away. But if you don't have the long mark, you're probably not going to have the accent mark. But I'll go ahead and point it out. So monere, the accent is on the NE, because in Latin, if that second to last syllable is long, that's where the accent goes. If that is short, then the accent goes back one further. The accent is that simple in Latin. So regere, the accent falls on RE because the GE is short, right? If that E were long, regere, it'd be a second conjugation and the accent would be different. But again, if you don't have the long marks, you're not going to have the accent marks. But heads up. I think if I were listening to it spoken, I'd pick up the accent more easily than the long versus short. That is very true. That is very true. And we're not super sure how the long, short pronunciation all worked out. That's like an above my pay grade question. Because sometimes people just say it long. So amare, monere, regere, the short E's, monere, monere. But in Greek, the long and the short O and the long and the short E are distinguished by sound because they're different letters in Greek. So monere, so an eta and then an epsilon, it's a little difficult. It's a little difficult for me. Eta, epsilon. So versus e. A versus e. Monere. Pronunciation is something that interests you. If rhythm and accent are something that interests you, I applaud you. And I can point you out to some resources. You can read the introduction to many a Latin book. I have my minimal work into it. Rhythm is interesting because of music, but I've never written a song in Latin. Rhythm is very important in Latin poetry, and Greek poetry for that matter, because the poetry is based on long and short and accent and not on any other structure. So rhythm is very important. Native Latin poetry was more involved with accent. Classical Latin poetry, which is inspired by the Greek, is more based on vowel length. But, I've definitely heard a paper about finding the strike accent in metrical poetry and kind of Romans playing with that in their poetry. The first question, or the first response to which, I don't believe what you're talking about. That was like the moderator of the panel just raised her hand and was like, now I don't believe what you're saying. But let me go ahead and ask you a question. It was kind of wild. But anyway, classicists, sometimes they're crazy. All right. So anyway, note that the present stem of each conjugation is found by dropping RE, which is the ending of the present infinitive. Yeah, okay, we see that. The present infinitive of sum is esse. which is why S is the present stem, and sometimes you get sum, ss, sumus, sunt, because when you get S's and vowels going on and irregular verbs, it's just, it gets to be a whole thing. All right. Now, really, really important here. From the present stem, that ama, mune, rege, audi, are formed the present tense, the imperfect tense, and the future tense. Now, that can sound kind of confusing because it's called the present stem. So why isn't it being used for imperfect, which is past tense, and future, which is future? It's just the way the verb is structured. We have some similar things. So in an English principal part, let me find a good irregular verb. Drink, drank, drunk. Drink, drank, drunk. Those are the principal parts of the verb to drink. And we use drink, I drink, in the present, but we also use drink in the future, I will drink. We add the word will for our helping verb for the future marker, but drink, the form of drink, is from the present stem. Or the imperfect in English would be translated, I used to drink, or I was drinking. So again, we're using the present form drink instead of drank or drunk, right? For the future, we don't say I will drunk or I will drink. We say I will drink. So English does the same thing. It's an optimization. You need fewer stems to make all your words. You say I will drunk. There's a very different tone to it. It's true. And you probably already have drunk at that point. Maybe I will have drunk. I'll drunk you. Okay. So, exactly. Optimization. So here's what it looks like in the present. It is so easy with the first two conjugations. So the first one, ama, with that long A. The second one, monet, with the long E. We use those personal endings that I said earlier, ost, mustis, ent, and we just crash them together. And that's it. We use the O in this one. So sometimes we'll use an M, but in the present tense, we use the O. The O is a big enough sound that the A gets dropped. So it becomes a mo instead of a mo, because the ow, over saying it, I mean, it just becomes a really long O. So amo, amas, amat, amamus, amatus, amant, which is probably what every person who has taken Latin can still say. Amo, amas, amat, amamus, amatus, amant. That's it. OMST mustis ent plus ama together. The same with moneo. I advise. Moneo, because it's a long E, it retains the E, which is what I mentioned before, how you can tell the difference between the second and the third conjugation if you don't have the long mark to help you out. Moneo, and then mones, 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 monet, monenus, monetus, monet. Bam. And that's it. I love, you love, he love, we love, you love, they love. He loves, sorry. Not difficult. You just plug it in. So if you're good at math, if you're good at things with equations, Latin's really nice. So let's see what he's saying here. The stem is the body of a word to which the terminations are attached. Yep. It's often identical with the base. Yeah, it is. If, however, the stem ends in a vowel, the latter does not appear in the base, but is variously combined with the terminations. Fair enough. Right, when vowel meets vowel, something usually changes. The vowel sound usually shifts when a vowel meets a vowel. We see that in language all the time. So it's not too bad, hopefully. And in this case, with ama plus o, it just becomes amo. Done. You'll notice, yes, even the ancient Romans had their vowel movements. Ha, ha, ha. That was a bad one. This is not super important, again, unless you're going to be composing poetry in Latin yourself. But you will notice the present stem ama and the present stem moneo have that long vowel at the end. That vowel remains long, except in front of the T and the NT. So the A and the E are long in the second person singular, the first person plural, and the second person plural. But in the third singular and third plural, T and nt make that vowel short, amat, instead of amat. In the third plural, it doesn't really matter because the NT will lengthen the vowel before it anyway when it comes to poetry. So it's still going to be thought of as a long vowel, even though it's by nature short, it is by position long. That's just if you want to be writing poetry. Or if you're working with a teacher who really cares about long marks and short marks. Not an important fact to hold on to until you get there. Then you'll want to review. Right now, present stem plus OMST mustis ent. You got the present. That's what you need to remember. The present tense is inflected by adding the personal endings to the present stem, and as first person uses the O and not the M, right? Present O. The form amo is from amao, the two vowels contracting to O. Moneo, no contraction. Nearly all regular verbs ending in eo belong to the second conjugation. Yeah, no crap. That's what I was just saying. That's how I explained it to Roz. Note that the long final vowel of the stem is shortened before another vowel. Okay, I forgot about that one. Moneo. And before the T and the NT. Those two I remember to mention. Alright. So like amo and moneo, like amo and moneo inflect the present active indicative of the vowel. Oh, they just want us to do it. Alright, so here's a whole bunch of first conjugation verbs. Arare, to plow, would be arro, I plow. Or aro, aras, arat, aramis, aratis, arat. Kuro, kuras, kurat, kuramis, kuratis, kurant. That inflect is in the imperative. Yes, I really missed that when reading. I couldn't tell what form the verb was. Yeah, this is exactly the lesson. English is too ambiguous. I could not tell how to read inflect. I was just trying to make it a statement and it just didn't work. That was a very ambiguous sentence. Yeah, a comma before would have helped because the like could be setting up a subordinate clause, and it's clearly not. It's simply setting up the simile comparison. But anyway, it's fine. This book was written like 100 years ago. Perhaps he didn't use like in that way. Anyway. Deleo, deles, delet, delemis, deletis, delent. Do, das, dat, damus, datus, dant. Habeo, habes, habet, habemus, habetus, habet. Habito, habitas, habitat. Habitamus, habitatis, habitant. Just because it's long, it's a little harder to say. You can use all of these verbs now in the present. To plow, to care for, to destroy, to long for, to give, to have, to live, to order, to labor, to praise, to hasten, to move, to tell, to kill, to announce, to prepare, to carry, to hasten, to fight, to see, and to call. All of them are awesome regular verbs. Why do we have an asterisk? I think I know why. Maybe I don't. Why do those verbs have asterisks? Oh, the only new verbs in this list are the 5 of the second conjugations. The 5 of the second conjugation, which are starred. Learn their meanings. Okay. All right. In English, there are 3 ways of expressing the present. I live, I am living, I do live. So we can translate with any of those phrases. Latin just says habito. You figure out the style of living. Okay, yeah. So there is one irregular they want me to point out. So do dare dedidatum. The infinitive is dare with a short a. So it is slightly irregular. Do das dat, damus datus dat. And the principal parts are irregular. Because, yeah, it's a super irregular verb to give. In Greek, it's one of the dreaded me verbs, which is a different way of conjugating verbs. So those principal parts are irregular, but the forms within them are pretty regular. Do, das, dat, damus, damus, dat. All right. Let's look at some verb forms. Give the voice, mood, tense, person, number. Person, number, tense, voice, mood. Okay? Don't make this hard. Person, number, tense, voice, mood. Number 1. Vocamus, properatis, jubent. All right, vocamus. So we got the stem voca and the ending mus. O-M-S-T, mus, tis, ent, mus. So it's first person, plural, present, active, indicative. Everything right now is present, active, indicative. So we really only needed to give the person and the number right now. Properatis, that's a T-I-S. O-M-S-T, mus, tis, ent. So it's second person, plural. Jubent, N-T. O-M-S-T, mus, tis, ent. Third, plural. Number 2, movetis laudas vides. O-M-S-T, mus, tis, ent. Tis is second plural, s is second singular for both laudas and vides. Vides, sorry. Deletis, habetis, dant. So tis, we've seen a few times, that's second plural. The nt, O-M-S-T, mus, tis, ent. That's third plural. Maturas, desiderat, videmus. S is second singular, T is third singular, mus is first plural. I guess we should translate them, huh? Going back to number 1. We call, y'all hasten, they order. Y'all move, you praise, you see. Y'all destroy, y'all have, they give. You age, maturas. Not a verb you see a ton. Hasten. Okay. You hasten, he desires, we see. You bet, mowent, nekat. I'm not going to give the person, number, tense, and voice and mood. I'm going to translate, and you can hear what it is. He orders, they move, he kills. Naramus, moves, vident. We narrate, you move, they see. Laboratis, properant, portas, parant. Y'all work, they hasten, you carry, they prepare. Delet, habetis, ubemus, das. He destroys, y'all have. We order, you give. Oh, because it's just like a random string of words. Yeah. Note bene. Observe that the personal ending is of prime importance in translating a Latin verb form. Give that your first attention. Yep, go right to the end. Figure out the person. He orders, they move, he kills. That is a good plot. All right. All right, so we are going to do the imperfect. All right, sweet. Everybody ready? I'm going to take a little drink break. Okay. Latin verbs conjugate. When they're in certain person, number, tense, voices, and moods, parts of the verb change so that we know what's going on. We'll have to watch the VOD here in a second, as virtual mass should be beginning soon. Okay, no worries. Our virtual mass is on Vimeo, so we'll be watching it, once Punch is awake. Enjoy mass. All right. In English, we use helping verbs. I will drink, I used to drink, I was drinking, right? All those other little words. Latin, we're seeing here the tense sign. So we have a present stem, ama or monet. For the imperfect, which is a past tense, that is not completed. So perfect means to be completed. Imperfect, not completed. So the perfect is a simple past. I ate dinner last night. Imperfect is I used to eat dinner at 7 every night. It's a spectrum of times in the past and not one simple event. All right, so we have the present stem ama. We put in the tense sign for the imperfect ba, and then personal ending We use the in this one. And as it helpfully points out, so ama tells us that it's loving, ba was, and I. So I was loving. I'm a bomb. Exactly. And we are all to be perfect as our Heavenly Father is perfect. All right. But then it's just a simple matter. So ama, our ba, and then we use the M. MST moves to end. Monet, ba, MST moves to end. I'm a bomb, I'm a boss, I'm a bot, I'm a bommus, I'm a botus, I'm a bot. Monet bomb, monet boss, monet bot, monet bommus, monet botus, monet bont. Bleh. Get a little long, the verbs do. But it's all right there. The first part tells you what the verb means, the middle part tells you what tense it is, and the ending tells you what person it is. That's all you need. All right. The bod's by nature long, not that that really matters for us right now. Meaning of the imperfect. The imperfect describes an action as going on or progressing in past time. Like the English past progressive tense, I was walking. It is the regular tense used to describe a past situation or condition of affairs. All right. Oh, let's read the little story. All right. Apparently, the special vocab for this is on page 287. Hopefully, I'll remember everything. So, I guess I should ask, any questions about the imperfect or the present right now? They're not so bad. It's just, with Latin, the individual parts aren't so bad. What's bad is trying to put it all together at the same time. So it's very important to always review what you know. Always review the endings that you've learned so far and the terms of things. Just so you can try to keep everything straight. And then it's just a matter of practice, like all things. Gonna take another drink. All right. Niobe, regina Thebanorum, erat pulchra femina seb superba. Erat superba non sola forma sua, maritique potentia, sed etiam magno liberorum numero. Nam habebat septum filios et septum filias. Sed ea superbia erat reginae, causa magnae tristiae, et liberis causa durae poinae, not poinia. I didn't read that out loud very well, but whatever. We're just gonna go with here. Is there more? Is that it? That's it. Okay. So Niobe, the queen of Thebes. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Circuit. Be right back. Okay. So Niobe, queen of Thebes, was a beautiful woman, but arrogant. So erat here imperfect because it was a lifelong thing. Like she wasn't beautiful one day and then not beautiful the next. She erat pulchra. She was arrogant, superba, proud, not only non solum, because of her own beauty, forma sua, ablative of cause, and because of the power of her husband, potentiae mariti, but also because of the great number, magno numero, of her children, liberorum. For in fact, nam habebat, she used to have 7 sons and 7 daughters. But this arrogance, ea superbia, was the cause of great sadness, magnae tristiae, to the queen, reginae, and was the cause of a harsh penalty, durae poinia, to her children, liberis. So the myth of Niobe hinted at. I don't know if we're gonna get more later on, but yeah, her kids get killed because she is super proud. All right, and then the future. The future for the first and second conjugation follows the same kind of pattern. And let me make this emphasis again. For the first and second conjugation, the future active indicative does a similar thing that the imperfect does, adding that little tense sign, bi, instead of ba. Ama bis. You will love. Ama BI, personal ending. Personal endings back to being an O. OST mustis ent. Oh, she was so proud. Remind me never to live in that world. It sounds deadlier than Australia. Yeah. Probably the world of Greek mythology is deadlier than Australia because the gods are always there and, trying to kill you and make you miserable. So, yeah. So, I'm a bow, I'm a bis, I'm a bit, I'm a bimis, I'm a bitis, I'm a bunt. The NT plus the I sound become a bunt. Okay. And then the I and the O becomes just an O, contracts. Mone bo, mone bis, mone bit, mone bimis, mone bitis, mone bunt. So a little bit more complicated than the imperfect ba, but not too bad. Only different in the first singular and the third plural, bo and bunt. Pay special attention to the accent. Why am I paying a special attention to the accent? Is it because it's always the last syllable on the stem? I don't know. But we try to pay attention to it. Do you have a little... Oh, here we go. Sweet. We do get the rest of the story of Niobe and her children. Excellent. I mean, it's real sad, so, there's that. Apollo et Diana erant liberi Latonae. Iis Thebani sacra crebra parabant. Opidani amabant Latonam et liberos eius. Id superbae reginae erat molestum. Cur inquit, Latonae et liberi sacra paratis. Duos libros habet Latona, quatuor decem habeo ego, ubi sunt mea sacra. Latona iis verbis irata libro suos vocat. Ad eam volant Apollo Dianaque, et sagitis suis miseros liberos reginae superbae delent. Niobe, nuper laeta nunc misera, sed et apud liberos interfectos, et cum perpetuis lacrimis eos desiderat. Okay. Apollo and Diana were the children of Latona. All right, the Thebans were preparing sacred celebrations for them because they're gods. The townspeople were loving Latona, sorry, using the Latin name. Latin names are hard. Used to love Latona and her children. That was a bother to the arrogant queen. Why, she says, she said, the perfect tense there, inquit. Why, she said, do you all prepare sacred things for Latona and her children? Latona has 2 children. I, Ego, have 14. Where are my sacrifices? Latona calls her children angered by these words. Apollo and Diana fly to her. We're using the present now. We've shifted into the present, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Apollo and Diana fly to her, and they destroy the miserable children of the arrogant queen with their arrows. Niobe, recently happy, now is miserable. Or, I guess, just Niobe sits, recently happy, now miserable, among her dead children, and she longs for them with perpetual tears. Well, that explains what happened. I'm confused. Liberos eos means his, her children, but liberos means free. Yes. Yes. They're the same word. So filios is son, philia is daughter, and that's the more usual one. But you can refer to your children as liber because they are free citizens. And so your children are people who are free. So you wouldn't use them like if you were a slave talking about your children. You would not call them liberos. You would just call them filios. It's a strange one. Absolutely. But the word for free and the word for child is in fact the same. Yes. The house has the master, the wife, the children, and the slaves. Yeah, pretty much. That's a way of thinking about it. So children in contrast to slaves. Yeah. And that is actually like, there's a word in Greek that can mean child, but also servant. And so there is, something in the ancient mindset, like distinguishing certain words for children and servants and certain words for children that are like yours and free and respectable. It's very strange. But yeah, I can't remember what the word is now. Shoot. Because I'm trying to think of Greek, proving that language and culture are intertwined. Yeah, no kidding. So it's kind of like the equivalent of referring to your slave as a boy. You, their boy. You get to boss them around and tell them what to do. Shoot, what is the word in Greek, though? I think it starts with a pi. But I can't think of it. Well, whatever. It will come to me or it won't. So, that is how Niobe got her children killed. And there's a really interesting reference to this in the Iliad. So the Iliad is kind of the greatest thing ever written. Composed, I guess I should say. Not quite written. But near the end, when Achilles is talking to Priam, so Achilles having killed a lot of children of Priam, but now talking to him. And it's all like, let's have something to eat. Because he's being a good host, because Greek. And he's like, even Niobe ate after her children were killed, and she was miserable. Even she ate. So every so often when I think of Niobe's story, I'm just like, even Niobe ate. So sometimes when you're feeling down, and, remember that you still need to eat, because even Niobe ate. Punch should start using this on me. Like when I'm like not feeling well, but I know I need to eat, because otherwise I'll feel worse. Even Niobe ate. Just start saying that at me, shouting it at me. He looks unconvinced by doing this. All right, so let's do a little review, unless there are more questions. I don't think Punch has his stream pulled up yet, so he can't answer that question. But the question was, why did you marry this mad woman? From Ross. All right. I love this note, by the way, for number 4. So let me see. So Niobe longed for them with perpetual tears. Now let me read you this little note about the ablative. The ablative may either be manner or accompaniment, which is kind of weird because you don't really think of tears as people that would accompany you. All right. It is often impossible to draw a sharp line between means, manner, and accompaniment. The Romans themselves drew no sharp distinction. It was enough for them if the general idea demanded the ablative case. So whenever you're being hounded by a grammarian and they're demanding what kind of ablative is this, just say, it's an ablative, dude. It expresses ablative stuff. Go bother the Romans. Oh, great. Now that's a permanent quote in my channel. That's good times. All right. So we're being asked to review the verbs now. Sum esse, sunt. Aram, arat, sarat, aramis, aratus, rant. Ro, ris, rit, arimis, ritus, rit. Let me just go back to those forms of to be real quick that we learned. Whoa, go away. That we learned last time. Just so you can see now. So sum esse, sumus esse, sunt. So the stem is es, and then the mst mustis ent. Imperfect aramarasarat, aramisaratus arat. So it misses the b from the ba that we see in the first and second, but the rest is the same. And again, the future misses the b that we have in the future for the first and second conjugation, but the o is it, imis it is unt is the same. So it's irregular, definitely, without a doubt, but you can see the similarities with the imperfect and the future of the regular verbs. So it's still generally recognizable, which is good. We like that. Oh, and there was another point I wanted to make. So at first, when we read the story about Niobe, we started off in the imperfect, errant, amabant, erat. But then we switched to the present in line 5, vocat, volant, delent, seret, and desiderat. We just switched to present. This is not uncommon in Roman storytelling. So even though everything is taking place in the past, because it is a story, they switch to present for vividness. I guess the technical term is historical present. They're using the present for something in the past tense. And that's, I mean, that's really all there is to it. You know. Oh, hey, Arget, how are you? You're completely banned for not doing the homework. Next week, if anybody hasn't memorized everything we've done so far, you're not welcome in chat. I've just got to put the rules down, you know. Just gotta do it, or else you'll never learn. I'm doing it for your own good, as your teacher. I have an interview for a teaching position on Wednesday afternoon, by the way. Everybody pray for me. I don't even know, like, if I want it or not. So feel free to make me leave when the time comes. I will punch. All right. Yeah, so historical present. It's a switch. It's fairly common. When you are translating from Latin to English, when you see them make that tense shift, it's really up to you as a translator if you want to use the present tense to retain vividness, or if you want to just keep it all to the same tense. It doesn't super matter. And then my entire class guaranteed higher the slurs. And yeah, that's exactly it, Ross. Because it's not Latin, so I'd be more comfortable if it were, a Latin position. But in some ways, it's exciting that it's not a Latin position, because I'd get to learn a lot of things before I taught them, and that could be fun. All right, but we'll see. So we want to make this note about the dative. So if we look back at the sentence we just read to line 2, id superbi reginae erat modestum. So that was bothersome, id erat molestum, to the arrogant queen, superbi reginae. So superbi reginae is our dative. Dative translated with 2 or 4. But as we're used to seeing it as an indirect object. I give something to Punch. I gave money to McDonald's for my drink. But the verb to be doesn't take an indirect object, right? I was to punch, there's no indirect action there. That doesn't make any sense. We need something else. And so the dative here is working with the adjective. So that was bothersome to the queen. The dative is explaining to whom the situation was bothersome. Roller coasters are fun to me. Roller coasters are too small to punch. Right? So the dative helps you understand in what way the adjective is true, I guess you could say. Roller coasters are fun. Not everybody agrees with that statement, right? So the dative helps you explain how the statement is true. Roller coasters are fun to me, but not to everybody. I'm not going to listen to what you guys are talking about. Roller coasters are too small to punch. You're right. I was trying to only use 2 for the sake of explanation, but you're absolutely right, Ross. If roller coasters are too small to punch makes it sound like Punch is the size of Godzilla. Compared to Punch, roller coasters are too small. You're right. But hopefully the the example at least made enough sense. Even with its Godzilla comparison. So now we'll see the way that he wrote it. Case. Dative is case. Dative case is a great case. Oh, and you get the double dative when eventually. And the double dative is the best construction. Anyway. Let's read Benjamin Doogie's explanation for this. We learned what sort of expressions we may expect the dative, and one of its commonest uses is with verbs to express the indirect object. It is also very common with adjectives to express the object towards which the quality denoted by the adjective is directed. I should have just read that. Clear as mud. We have already had a number of cases where gratus, agreeable to, was followed by a dative. So, punch est gratis mihi. Punch is agreeable to me. Right? Was followed by a dative. And in the last lesson, we had molestus, annoying to, followed by the dative case. Punch est molestus mihi. Punch is annoying to me. The usage may be more explicitly stated by the following rule. Uh-oh. No, that's terrible. And you are terrible students too. How do you say nothing is agreeable to punch? All right. Nihil est agreeable gratus. I guess we say punch punchis blank is e punchy. Oh, sorry, that should be gratus, not gratis. That's by autocorrect fault. Nihil est gratus punchi. Nothing is agreeable to punch. Perfect. So the rule, the dative is used with adjectives to denote the object towards which the given quality is directed. I feel like that sentence doesn't say anything. Am I wrong? Or does that sentence make total sense? The dative is used with adjectives to denote the object towards which the given quality is directed. Such are especially those meaning near, also fit, friendly, pleasing, like, and their opposites. So you'll see at datives a lot with these adjectives. Idoneus, suitable for. Amicus, friendly to. Inimicus, hostile to. Gratis, pleasing to. Molestus, annoying to. Finitimus, neighboring to. Or proximus, next to. Literally waffle. Okay, thanks. The dative gives the adjective's target. Yes. Yes? I think so. Do we have another story? Oh, sweet. Okay, we're going to read about Cornelia and her jewels. Oh, this is a lovely story. Oh, I like this. And after we read this, we'll call it and do the verbs for the third and the fourth conjugation next time. They're a little bit trickier, but they're only more tricky because we get used to the first two, if that makes sense. Like if we started with these, we wouldn't think they were hard. But since we start with the first and second conjugation, it seems like these ones are different and therefore difficult. All right. So Cornelia and her jewels. This is a famous story. Apud antiquas dominas Cornelia, Africani filia, erat maxime clara. Filii eius erant Tiberius Gracchus et Gaius Gracchus. Ii pueri cum Cornelia in opido Roma, claro Italiae opido habitabant. Ibi eos curabat Cornelia, et ibi magno cum studio eos docebat. Bona femina erat Cornelia, et bonam disciplinam, maxime amabat. Cornelia! Can you translate the paragraph above? There are no new words. All right. Apud antiquitas dominus. Among the ancient ladies, Cornelia, the daughter of Africanus, was the most distinguished, maxime clara. So Africanus, you might know about the Punic Wars, Hannibal, that kind of stuff. That's Scipio Africanus on the Roman side. So this is his daughter, Cornelia. Her sons were Tiberius Gracchus and Gaius Gracchus. You may have heard of them. The Gracchi, Land Act, Civil War, both of them got executed by mobs, you know, that kind of stuff. So those sons used to live with Cornelia in the town Rome, the distinguished town of Italy. Okay, yeah, I think we know what Rome is. There, Cornelia cared for them and was teaching them there with great zeal. Okay, great. Cornelia was a good woman, and she especially loved good discipline. The end. Is that where that guy named Francis lives? Yeah, you know, that town Rome. You may have heard of it. Technically, Francis lives in Vatican City, not Rome, but close enough. So there's a famous quote attributed to Cornelia. She's one of those model. She's one of those model matrons. You know, everybody's supposed to be like Cornelia, the daughter of the famous general, the mother of these two. I'm trying to think of the right word here for the Gracchi. Very influential politicians. I mean, you don't get mobbed to death for being nothing, you know. But one of the Roman ideals is not to be opulent. Right? The Romans are an earthy, hardy people. Wealth is bad, even though they're all rich. Don't. It's one of those things where it doesn't always live up to how they actually live. But opulence is bad. And so someone, I can't remember who in the story, was like ragging on Cornelia for not wearing lots of jewels. And Cornelia takes out her two sons, Tiberius and Gaius, and says, these are my jewels. Right? So the proper Roman is one devoted to the family, devoted to raising the son. A really important thing here that people who don't study antiquity don't really know. Cornelia, the mother, was responsible for educating her children. So you get the kind of, people think that women were not educated in ancient Rome or something like that. Poor people weren't educated. There were tons of problems with ancient Rome. But if you were, a patrician, a noble lady, you were extremely well educated and you were expected to raise your children and teach them good Roman values. They weren't big on school. They did not like the whole Greek system of sending your kid away to someone else during the day to teach them. They were very focused on the familia, on the household. So, one of the best places for statistics. It's the only country in the world with an average of more than 2 popes per square kilometer. Exactly. I'm not sending my kid over to Aristotle. Those weird Greeks. All right. Yeah. I mean, it's the difference between city wealth also and, like, individual wealth. Like, opulence is bad. Yeah, but then, so opulence is bad, but being very wealthy and having a lot of clients is good. So, it's very difficult to be virtuous and rich. It's hard to find that right balance, Exactly. So the opulence is bad, but then you still have to host people and have lots of clients and support the good of the Commonwealth, which requires a lot of money. Anyway. Here you can solve that problem by throwing your money into a piece of paper with PhD written on it. It's true. It's true. It's almost independent of actual wealth. Huh, interesting. Yeah, and there have been times in Greece in particular, but also in Rome with the Oppian Law, that conspicuous wealth was actually outlawed. Like when there is war going on, women were not allowed to have X amount of jewelry. They had to give it over to the state. Conspicuous consumption was a policy of communist Russia. People were encouraged to act wealthy even at the expense of actual prosperity. Fascinating. So that's like the opposite of what Romans want you to do. The Romans want you to be wealthy, but like not show any of it. Just use it on the state. Just pay for your clients to do things. Fascinating. That's hilarious. All right. I really enjoy these little stories that they have at each lesson because there's so interesting stuff to talk about. But that'll be it for today. We've gone for over an hour with our present, imperfect, and future of the first and second conjugation and the verb to be. Next week, we will do the present, imperfect, and future of the third and fourth conjugation and maybe something else. Because neither of those will take long, I would imagine. Oh, we're going to hear more about Cornelia next time. Awesome. Dative with special verbs, so we get more dative action. Future. Okay. Oh, and the imperative. We'll do the imperative too. Yeah. Oh, passive. Yeah, we won't go into passive next time. We'll get through 26 though. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming and hanging out. I hope you have a good day. I'm going to upload this to YouTube and then get all the videos posted. Bless you. Posted to the Twitch backlog also. You guys are so fun to put up with. Don't worry about it. We're having a good time together. So I'll see you next Sunday for sure. I mean, given the current state of the world, I won't have anything getting in my way of doing Sunday morning streams for a while. So I'll see you next week. Tuesday and Friday, we'll still see. I might see if Punch will do Final Fantasy 3 on Fridays, at least for a little bit. So it'll be on his channel, but I'll be co-streaming. And then... What? And then Tuesday, I don't know. Work's been a lot, so we'll see. But study OMST mustis ent. Bombas bot bombas bodis bont. Bo bisbit bim spidis bint. Bunt. I lied about bint. Bunt. Bye.